What is up, guys? We just came out of the Mortdog's patch rundown for 11.10 of Teamfight Tactics. This is a humongous patch. So many things are getting nerfed, so many things are getting buffed. It's absolutely monstrous. It's gonna shake up the meta as all hell. B patch obviously did some work, also left some sleeper OP Vayne units actually out in the wild. Now hopefully this patch touches a lot of that. I think one of the main aspects of this patch is buffing 3 stars 3 cost units, and yeah, there's a lot of buffs to higher traits, so like Cavalier 3 for example, Cavalier 4, I think Mystic 3 or 4 is also getting buffed. There's a lot of things, and we're gonna go down in this video my thoughts on them, hopefully in a succinct fashion. So let's start. So first of all, there's going to be an Abomination buff. Obviously this is going to help. Abomination right now is just almost never played. It was rampant in the beta. Now it's almost never played. Usually you might play it if you're going to pivot eventually into Legionnaire because of Callista specifically. Sometimes you can actually get a Brawler Spellweaver backline and then play it, but other than that, it's pretty much never seen. So obviously going for buffs is very good. Also, Mort actually used the word nudges a lot. I think it's the correct way to balance things. So most of them are small number tweaks, and I really like this approach. I think it's much better than just going for huge swings. So with that out of the way, there's the Cavalier buff. Cavalier is, right now, it's pretty strong. This is going to be even stronger. You almost never run the Cavalier 3 or 4 trait. Not gonna lie, didn't even know there was a 4th one. Never played it. Hopefully this helps, because Cavalier also gets doubled whenever they actually charge. So this is like a 90% damage reduction. Can you imagine Rel with that? That is insane. So we'll see. Honestly, with a lot of these changes, I'm really hyped on a Hecarim carry, but like game. It's gonna be really interesting. It's the first thing I'm gonna try, because you'll see there's a Hecarim buff, there's a Sunfire buff, there's a lot of things. So that's it for Cavalier. It's gonna be strong. Is it strong enough to actually like go for Cavalier? I don't know, because it forces you to play a lot of units that you don't really want to mix. So we'll see. I like this change. Dragon Slayer buff here. Basically what Mort said, and I agree with it, is if you're gonna play Mordekaiser, you want to have a choice between going Legionnaire or going Dragon Slayer. Right now there was just no choice at all. You just go Legionnaire because it's just a much better trait. So this is going to be helpful. There's also a Pantheon buff, so together they might do something about Dragon Slayer. We'll see. Honestly, I mean, that's a fine buff. I don't think it's going to be game breaking or anything. Now, Forgotten. The Vayne right now, the Vayne comp, the Forgotten 6 Vayne comp is just way too strong. And you run 6 Forgotten, that this is getting nerfed. I think buffing the 9 Forgotten is fine. You almost never go 9 Forgotten. And I think like whenever you go for a comp with the spat, it's fine if it's like really strong, in my opinion. So going for a small nerf here is very much deserved. You have to remember that yes, Vayne is really strong and she's the carry, but there's also a lot of other Forgotten units that actually like use that buff, and they actually did a lot more damage than they should. So I really like this nerf. Now going for Knight, there's a Knight 4 buff, or is that Knight 6? Is that Knight 4? Anyways, there's the 3rd tier of Knight is getting buffed. Honestly, don't think you go for that anyways. So I mean that's fine. It's a fine buff. I just don't think you're gonna play that many Knights anyways. Might be useful if you get a spat, maybe. I'm really not convinced. I don't think this is gonna change anything at all. Mystic buff is fine. You rarely go for Mystic, but now if you do, you're actually more rewarded for it. So I think it could be useful if there's like a very AP heavy lobby. This could potentially be played. Usually these traits, like, I'm not too afraid of them. Might make this path even better, so I'm always up for it. There needs to be big rewards for forcing 3rd tier traits. Verdant's getting a buff, so with the Knight Verdant, obviously Tarek comes to mind. Even then, I'm not convinced this is going to be like enough to make him game breaking at all. This is just a nice buff. I think it makes Verdant just a bit better, allows you to not build QSS. I like this change for sure. Now we go to the 1-cost changes. I'm gonna go over them quite quickly, because if you want the full rundown and the long explanation, you can go on Mort's channel. As soon as he uploads it on YouTube, I'm gonna put it down in the description below. But let's go into the 1-cost change. Basically, they want Aatrox to do more damage and be less of a front line, so he's just a bit better. I'm fine with that change. I think Aatrox is not the best unit right now. It's certainly not that weak, so this is gonna help, especially since he heals off of that, right? So that's gonna be that makes him just slightly better. Leona buff, just making her basically less tanky and hurt a little more. I think that's fine, especially like the Leona reroll comp is just a bit insane. She's unkillable. I think this is very much deserved. And then we have a Lysandra 3 nerf. Obviously, I think that's fine. Lysandra 3 is super strong right now. So this is good. It's not going to negate your whole team because she's splashing on them. So I like this change. Now, Udyr buff. I think Udyr is one of the most lackluster 1-cost unit right now. This is obviously needed. A lot of the skirmishers are getting buffed, honestly. I really think the Jax comp is already strong. I think it's going to be even better. Not because Jax himself is getting changed, but because everything around him is getting slightly stronger. So I think we really have to watch out for that. Vayne! She's getting nerfed. She's getting like a 580 buff, but it's here. Here is what matters the most. Especially with the Shadow Jewel Gauntlet change. This is going to lower her damage by a lot. This is the true damage. This is what really hurts, especially because right now, like, you play against Vayne and it's really hard to either itemize or build your comp to counter her. Ironclad doesn't even help. It's true damage. So nerfing her true damage and buffing her AD, I think, is fine. Especially if you go Vayne 3 anyways. Like, it's a very small nerf, and the real problem right now is Vayne 2. So this is good. Buff to Warwick 3, I don't think it's going to do huge. If you go reroll Forgotten, now you might just force the Warwick 3 more often because of that. Brand 1 getting nerfed, much deserved. He's super strong. If you go Brand 2, I think that there's no changes, which is fine. He's a great item holder right now. I think Brand is a fantastic unit. Just nerfing his spell damage a bit is in the same vein as nerfing the attack speed on Ziggs, which was much deserved. They are in a much better place than before those changes. Hecarim Buff, this is a slight buff. It's only under his first cast, by the way, so this is not huge or anything, but it almost makes sure that he actually casts his spell at least once. Remember, there's a Cavalier buff also. There's a Forgotten 9 buff. I'm looking to build some Hecarim. You'll see with the items. I think he's going to be like actually very strong. Now there's Leblanc, nerfing her stun on 3-star, which is great. I think she was just a bit too strong right now. Leblanc has been hit in the B patch. If you want thoughts on B patch, by the way, my video about it is in the description down below or up in the card. Trundle buff is what I meant by almost every skirmisher is getting buffed. A bit more attack speed. He's going to proc his ult a bit sooner. He's a bit stronger. I'm telling you guys, Dragon Slayer is also getting buffed. Dragon Slayer Skirmisher is something to look for. Now the 3-cost. Basically, their philosophy was to make 3-cost 3-stars a bit more viable. So that's what you're going to see in most of them. More damage on 3-cost, more damage on 3, and more targets on 3, and except Morgana, which is just getting nerfed on 3. I mean, she's getting nerfed because of the spell radius, which is fine. Morgana was really insane right now. She can basically carry your whole team. I think that's a much deserved nerf, and I think she's going to still be viable, which is what you want your nerf to be. You don't want to kill units completely. So overall, watch out for those 3 costs. They're going to be a bit better. Are they worth it? Time will tell. Right now, it's really hard to evaluate, but I would like to see some 3-star scary, honestly. We haven't seen a whole lot of them right now. The 3 costs are in a weird spot in the game. Usually, you want to go for a 4 cost if you're at that point, or you want to reroll for a 1 or 2 cost. So I think those changes are great. Slight buff to Nunu, which is going to help, especially if you go the Abomination early game. That's going to be a bit better in this case. Nidalee getting a slight buff. This is actually going to be huge on Nidalee 3, honestly. She definitely needed it. She's a great early game unit, but she doesn't do a whole lot eventually. So just getting her power spike a bit earlier with the 60 is much better. Now, Nocturne should heal more with items that aren't heal based now. So stacking a lot of AD might be hyper strong. With the Leblanc nerf, maybe if you go Assassin now, you play Nocturne carry instead. It was already close to being really good. I think this will push him just slightly over the top, and it's going to be definitely super good. Pantheon is another Dragon Slayer skirmisher getting buffed. They want him to do more damage. He's basically a frontline right now. They want him to be a bit more akin to his League of Legends counterpart. Just do a bit more damage, itemize him maybe with some AD, and he's definitely going to be very strong because he's already all right? So Dragon Slayer skirmisher, keep your eye on that. Remember that. Riven getting a slight buff, definitely deserved. What does she do right now? I mean, she's just a Dawnbringer butt or a Legionnaire butt in a lot of the games. So I think that's very much deserved. I don't know if that pushes her to be strong enough to be a carry. I think we'll see. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be good enough. And I can't wait for people to clip that and just remind me when she's absolutely broken. Yasuo 3 getting buffed. Right now, Yasuo is mostly a Mordekaiser item holder. Now, if you go 3-star, he could actually be a carry. So you need to keep an eye out for Yasuo 3. I think it could actually be pretty decent. Zyra 3 getting buffed, I think that's fine. Zyra is in a good place right now, so I'm actually surprised to see her buffed. I think the utility she brings to the team, especially with something like Vel'Koz, is already very strong. But it's only 3 cost, so usually if you're playing Vel'Koz, you won't have Zyra 3, so this is fine. I think it's a good buff. It's probably going to make Draconic slightly better. Now let's get some meat. The 4 cost, Aphelios can now crit, so building IE on him is going to be much better. Keep that in mind. Right now, building IE is just almost irrelevant. Deathblade is by far better on him. So we'll see if the itemization changes. They said they wanted this to be basically power neutral. So this is not a buff and not a nerf. We'll see with time. Maybe the items right now will be able to push him just slightly above. I think Moonboy is still super strong. It's just being overshadowed by a lot of comps right now. But he's definitely still strong. You can still top war with him. Daisy was nerfed in the B patch last week. Now she's getting a bit buffed. Basically, they're buffing her damage instead of the CC. So Ivern is not just a CC bot right now. He's going to do a bit of damage. So if you build some AP on him, he might be doing some work. So keep an eye on that. Slight Mordekaiser nerf here. So the first initial shield is going to be slightly delayed, but with the Dragon Slayer buff, I think overall Mordekaiser carry can still be quite decent, especially since there's a lot of the early game transition that is getting buffed. So definitely keep an eye out on that. Almost every Legionnaire and Dragon Slayer is getting buffed. This is a nerf which I think is deserved because everything else around it is getting just slightly stronger. Rel getting nerfed. She was played on almost every comp she could fit to. Right now, if you find a Rel, even if you don't have any trades that fit, she's just so good that you almost want to always slam her. She's a very, very good unit. I think this is a decent nerf. Going for a 2-star Rel will be a bit more required. It's basically not a free frontline as soon as you hit Rel. Slight Garen nerf. Honestly, Garen is very strong right now. He felt kind of weak at the start of live, but he's super strong if you stack HP on him. So going for a nerf on the 1 I think is fine. Getting 2-stars carry is super difficult. Usually there's a lot of games where you don't even have the chance to get a 2-star 5 cost. So nerfing the 1 cost is, they actually decide that he might get hit with a bit more nerfs because he's still very strong. So we'll see about that. Heimerdinger getting a nerfed. I mean, is anyone surprised right now? Heimerdinger does insane amount of damage. So the first cast is going to be a bit later. If you still, I think you still play Heimerdinger, right? He's not irrelevant by any means, but he might not be able to one-shot your entire team without you being able to do anything about it. Kindred 2 is getting nerfed. I think Kindred has very good traits. Ranger Mystic just fits well in Aphelios comp. It fits well with Vayne. It fits well in a lot of comps just because she has Mystic and a great ult. So definitely hitting the Kindred 2 is fine. Wolf was actually doing a lot of damage. I think you don't realize it, but it adds up really, really fast. And they are slightly buffing Teemo, which I think is good. Paying 6 HP when you're at this stage of the game is quite a steep cost. So this is going to help and actually like make you think a lot more about buying him. Now let's get into the items. The cones are getting nerfed. I mean, I don't think we need any explanations on that. Definitely deserved. They were way too strong. Dark Shroud of Stillness, slight nerf. I still don't think you really play it unless you can put it on a tank, which might be fine, but there's so many good things you can do. I don't think you want to aim for that even with that change. Dragon's Claw getting buffed. That's nice. If you cannot find the Mystics or it just doesn't fit your comp, you might look into more of a Dragon Claw item. 50 MR is no joke, so that might actually help in the comps that you need MR tank. I don't know if you can see correctly here, but this is basically the Shadow Sunfire Cape. Now, basically, you self-burn a lot and a lot slower. So this is going to help the item pretty much. I think this is one of the stronger items right now with this change on champions like Hecarim. I'm telling you, Hecarim's gonna be the shit, guys. I'm gonna force it. I'm gonna prove it to you. This is a huge buff, actually. This is a very, very big buff. Now, the meat of this slide is basically Frozen Heart, right? Right now, Frozen Heart is very strong. You slam it on Diana, and it just almost neuters all of your backline because the attack speed slow is huge, and then she CCs your whole backline. I think that was just a bit too strong. They did not like that. That's a decent nerf. Much deserved, especially like the Dark Frozen Heart. It's so strong because like slowing the attack speed of your front line basically does not matter at all. So this is the part that actually like makes the most sense, and I think like base Frozen Heart also kind of deserved one. This is a great change. It's going to be a much healthier gameplay. Having your whole backline neutered by one item just kind of sucks. Shadow GA getting buffed. Honestly, this is going to make it a bit less viable. I think it's still fine on some people. I'm not sure like how huge of a nerf it is. I actually think it's going to still be playable for sure. Ionic Darkspark, quite the huge buff, honestly. Like they're buffing the AP you get and they're reducing the damage you get. So we might have to watch for Cannon maybe building this, especially since the skirmishers all around are getting buffed. This might be good. It requires some testing, honestly. It's kind of hard from these patch notes to establish. Dark Locket's getting buffed, Shadow Shogun's getting buffed, Titan's Results getting buffed, and Sacrificial Redemption is getting buffed. But what matters the most in this slide is here. Shadow Gauntlet, basically, like that's a long text just to say it doesn't work on Vayne anymore. Should not change anything when you put it on Vel'Koz or Karma or any other carry that actually casts spell. Fantastic changes. I kind of like the fact that there was like this one unit that has a special interaction and it just works well, but right now it's just working too well. Maybe it was something they didn't see coming in the beta when they developed it. I don't know if it was on purpose. Maybe they wanted to test it. Definitely fantastic change. So this is actually like a decent Vayne nerf. It might not look like it, but it's actually a decent Vayne nerf. Shadow Warmog getting a buff. Once again, this fits super well on Hecarim. Also fits well on Garen. This HP loss per tick on anyone that heals is actually like almost like this is quite a big buff because you get a lot of HP for that. And anyone that actually cares about max HP is gonna love this change. Shadow Zeke's getting buffed. I think this surprised a lot of people. To be fair, those changes were made like Friday, right? And the patch rundown by Mort was recorded Friday. So he actually said in the rundown that it was underbuilt. I think he kind of ate his word right now because everyone's building it. It's absolutely broken. Hopefully this doesn't make the final cut. I'm really scared about this. We'll see. At least Shadow Gauntlet is getting nerfed, but I'm really scared of this change. I think all the items change. This is the one that scares me the most. If it gets buffed, really think about putting that on Nocturne, by the way. This is going to be really strong. We have to watch out for that. A lot of the changes here, by the way, are not final. I don't know if I need to say that, but the changes might not all make it to the patch. Some will maybe have slight number differences, So nothing here is final, but it gives us a really good view of what is gonna happen. Also in this slide, basically Abomination Z0 is back-ish. Basically, if you don't remember it, that comp was dominating in beta. They made it so the Abomination, the Scion, could not spawn the little thingy, the void spawns. They basically just removed the interaction. Now it's added back, but they are heavily nerfed when they spawn from the Abomination. I think this is a good change. Makes an interesting interaction, just less broken, less OP. We'll see if Abomination actually comes back with the D changes we saw at the start of the video. And last slide, bug fixes. You can pause it. A lot of bug fixes that are very important. Viego is one of the most important. Basically, he won't waste casts on people that are like reviving from Revenant or Guardian Angel. I think this is actually huge. Viego is already very strong. Losing a cast just straight up sucked. So shout out to the dev team. I think this is going to be a great patch. I like everything, almost everything that I've seen there. I'm really scared about Shadow Zeke's. At least some things are getting nerfed. I think Vayne isn't getting nerfed, like nowhere near enough. I think she's still going to be very strong. I'm real scared. Gotta watch out for Nocturne Carry, Skirmishers, and I'm telling you guys, Hecarim, you heard it here first. Hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe for more TFT content, and I'll see you next time.